Hello, I have the pleasure of interviewing Miss Consuela Amos. She went to TSU. She's currently a TSU alumni, class of 2001. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. Okay, first I want to get started with what made you choose Texas Southern?
It became a part of the family legacy.
Hmm.
My brother went to school here, and I started at HTC, but I knew I wanted something different. I went to private schools growing up, and interestingly enough, it was predominantly white. But um, my family has a strong sense of pride in who you are
Hmm.
and knowing where you came from. So TSU provided that avenue, and I knew that's where I was going to go.
Okay, what did you study?
I took up child and family development, and at that point it was home ec, and the name
Hmm.
changed to human services and consumer sciences. And interestingly enough, that my education and my training in that department is what led me all the way through my career.
And you said the private school you went to was predominantly white. So
Hmm.
when you got in onto TSU campus, what differences did you see?
It's it's dramatic. The cultural interaction, the background, the struggle, if you
Mhm.
will, of coming from nothing to try to provide something, it's very profound. And the going through schools all throughout my childhood, there was a difference made between um, fair skin and dark
Mhm.
skin. It's like, oh, I can tolerate you more because you're fair
I
skin.
understand
Oh, I can't really deal with you because you're more dark.
that. Mhm.
And that was a problem for me
Yeah.
because my brother is much darker than I am. But my mother raised us with a sense of belonging, that we're one another's keeper.
Mhm.
And if someone did not like my brother,
Mhm.
then by nature they didn't like me
Yes.
either. And it was likewise. So it was a sense of coming home, because even though I was there at the private schools, one thing that I learned is that the education is not equal. How we are taught versus how other races are taught, specifically affluent
Yes.
people or people who perceive themselves to be affluent, is totally different from how we're taught. Um, and it became obvious to me once I got into middle school, and it really made a big impact once I got to the university. So it's cultural is a big thing.
I understand that. How? What are some significant memories you remember going here?
Oh wow, I have quite a few. I Wow, my favorite building on campus is the library. I spent most of my time studying there, second floor. And at the time that I was going through, Dr. Kamau
Mhm.
was the director of the library. Miss Bean, Dr. Ferguson, those were like extended members of my family.
Mhm.
Um, and it got to the point, anytime there was activities going on, I was included as a part of that because it's that extension of family. Um, Having a place to land, a safe
Mhm.
place to land. Miss Anderson, oh my goodness, she was my childhood librarian, and I was ecstatic when I realized she worked here. So it was a pleasure to be here, and learn under her. Um, there's so many. Dr. Turner, who was the chair over the home ex department before we changed to human services, consumer sciences. He would, he's in the building. If either you heard music being played, he kept a keyboard in his office. So you knew he was in the office if he was playing his keyboard, or if you smell something cooking, because there was never a time where you lacked entertainment or you lacked in the feeling of love and belonging. And it's, it's something where I'd be remiss if I didn't even mention like Deventry's Oates, and she's now Dr. Oates, and Miss Dora Hodges. Oh my goodness. That was the mom. She was the mom.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of fond memories, and I'm happy to say that I work here and that I'm able to work alongside them to help promote the department that I came from, that I have such a sense of belonging with.
Yeah, I understand that. Do you have any role models, that have went here? I know you said your librarian. I don't know if she was a role model to you, but
Absolutely. Yes. My mother raised my brother and
Mhm.
I as really a single mother, but she was married to my father, but he was absent.
Mhm.
So I had her as my model of what a real lady should be. But her resources were minimal, so she couldn't really expose me. So the ladies here, Dr. Moore, Dr. Evans, Miss Hodges, Dr. Oates, um, they all helped shape me. I remember the first time I met Dr. Moore, and at that time she was still Miss Moore in the English department. She rivaled Tina Turner with these fabulous legs, and because she would wear her mini skirts and her hats, and there was never a time you would catch her without her hat. That was her signature. And it's just, she had this charismatic way of carrying herself. And after meeting her, she told me, she said, and we had this really good conversation. She was like, if you feel this way about me, I think you need to meet Dr. Sherry Good. Go over, and she actually worked across the hall. And she's like, she runs USC. I think you need to meet her because she is incredible. I met her, and she actually, you meet her before you actually meet her,
Yeah.
because her presence and her charisma just, it set up the tone. And she by far has been very instrumental in shaping my level of professionalism, my level of connecting with people, in being more of a servant rather than um, someone who is commanding without connectivity. She was very instrumental in that. So Texas Southern has provided an incredible foundation. Incidentally, I went to get my master's from Prairie View, and I'm in the doc program there. And I tell them, I was like, you couldn't get the diamond that you have in me if I first wasn't transformed from the lump of coal that I was at Texas Southern.
Yes.
And that's what TSU does. We get a lot of negative attention, but the truth of the matter is TSU it turns individuals that people throw away. They say, oh no, I don't want this person. Turn them into dynamic individuals that are all over the globe. So I'm proud to say I'm from here.
And you talked about your mother being a single parent, raising you and your brother. Did she so happen to talk to y'all about racism?
Absolutely. That was something that she was very clear on when we were growing up. She was, because her thing specifically was that people are going to treat us different because of the color of our skin. And she's like, it's not going to be because of something you did. It's not going to be because of something you said. It's just going to be because of the way you look. And it's unfortunate, but it's a fact of life. And she talked to us about the human kindness. And we have to go beyond seeing what's on the surface to look, truly seeing, as Dr. King said, the content of the character. And if you look for the bad, you always find it. She's like, but you have to look for the positive in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be the one to transform. Don't wait for somebody else. You have to
Yes.
be that. And she specifically told us, how you look is how God made you. And you should be proud of how he made you. If he said, I created you and called you by name and I am proud, why aren't you? So I was like, wow. Even
Yeah.
now thinking about it, it's very profound. And she put that in us from a young age. And because of that, we became staunch defenders of one another. And it's even now. My brother and I, people say we should have been twins because we're very connected to one another. I have a very close relationship.
That's good. What do you
Yes.
remember about your childhood?
I remember quite a bit in terms of it was a struggle for my mother. I remember it was very good at a point in her marriage, and then it began to decline because her and my father went separate ways, and my mother and father they. My mother never really finished high school. She finished 8th grade. My father went to the 12th grade. But my mother always had this thing of this is all I can do. I can have OJTP, on the job training programs, and this is all I can do. But this is not what I want for you. So education is going to be the key, and it's always going to be in your hand. But the thing is, what do you do with it? Are you going to use it, or are you going to say, I don't want to do anything? And to her, that was for us to say no, I don't want to do anything. That was to be disgraceful and to be inconsiderate of the sacrifices that she made. So for us, education became that thing, being conscious of ourselves and being happy with what we have, but at the same time, always striving for something better. It's interesting. We've had some difficulties growing up, my brother and I, but I can't say that I would regret and want to change those, because to change the things that I went through would mean I would have to change me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be the same person that I am today if I wouldn't have gone through what I went through.
Do you think HBCUs are important?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a big conversation actually across the nation.
Yes, it is.
So many are bucking against the argument of the relevancy towards HBCUs. But the truth of the matter is HBCUs will always remain important as long as we are grounded in why we were created. We were created historically to educate African Americans, but now our mission has grown. We educate not just African Americans, but also other races, other cultures, people from the international community. And our commitment is, while we are educating, we are supposed to be an integral component in uplifting the communities that we serve. Sometimes we become disjointed along the way, but our mission is clear. The level of professionals that we create at HBCUs, far specifically of African American and people of color, far outpace the PWIs. And matter of fact, what we do it so well to where other cultures, other races want to come to us because of the low student to professor ratio, the connectivity, the fact that me as your professor, I know your name. And because I know your name, I know what's going on with you. And the fact that you have that connectivity, that makes it just that much more possible for you to persist, complete your degree, and land the job. And that's what we do very well at HBCUs. But I think we need to do a better job at reaching more than just the traditional student. Today's students can't afford to just go to college and sit in a face-to-face context like this. We need to be able to be more flexible and more dynamic in meeting the needs of students who have to work full-time, who need to be online, because I see we lose so many students to Phoenix and all of these other universities, but they're 3 and 4 times more expensive for one semester than going to a traditional university. I think if we broaden our perspective and change our direction in how we reach the students we reach, we will also impact a greater number of individuals.
Okay. If you had one thing to tell anyone, any advice on choosing the college, if they want to go to a HBU or versus a PWI, what would you say to them?
I would say don't let the sparkle of the university and its size be the only determining factor. There are several things you need to take into account. You need to look at the professor to student ratio, look at the career services program of the university, the background of the professors who are in the department, the field that you want to go in, and the level of connectedness that you feel as you go through each of the universities. Make those your determining factors, as well as your own personal impression. Because the more you know going in, the better off you'll be. But I'm finding that a lot of individuals, matter of fact, quite a few of my colleagues who are in the program with me at Prairie View are white. And they're white and they're enjoying the level of connectedness that doesn't necessarily happen in the PWI because the philosophy is different. It's more I and me. And at an HBCU, it's more us and we, because I am not going to be able to make it unless you make it, and that's the cultural component that's very different. And I think when students get beyond that, sometimes of seeing the surface of roughness and seeing the purpose behind the roughness, we will attract quite a few more individuals.
Well, I thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview for me.
You're quite welcome.
Good.